I was in the garage organizing tools when I heard her voice through the open kitchen window. She was on the phone, laughing. Not just a polite chuckle. Full, genuine laughter. The kind she used to share with me years ago. "Oh my God, you guys have no idea," she said between giggles. "I swear, it's the easiest thing in the world." I stopped what I was doing. Something about her tone made me pause. "Seriously though," she continued, "all I have to do is give him a little attention in the bedroom, and boom, he's like putty in my hands. Dishes done, bills paid, whatever I want." It's honestly hilarious. Her friends were laughing on speakerphone. I could hear them clearly. "Wait, so you're saying you just withhold it when he's not doing what you want?" one of them asked. "Exactly. Like training a puppy. Good behavior gets rewarded. Bad behavior? Nothing. He doesn't even realize what's happening. Last week he forgot to pick up my dry cleaning, so I just told him I had a headache for 3 days straight. By day 4, he was practically begging to run errands for me." More laughter erupted from the phone. My hand tightened around the wrench I was holding. "That's genius," another friend chimed in. "I need to try that with my husband. Trust me, it works like a charm. Men are so predictable. They think they're in charge, but honestly, one simple thing controls everything. And the best part is, he thinks our marriage is great because I throw him a bone every now and then. Meanwhile, I'm getting exactly what I want when I want it." I stood there, frozen. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of thinking we were partners, equals, a team. And this whole time, she'd been playing me like a game. "Does he suspect anything?" someone asked. "Are you kidding? He's clueless. Just last night, he thanked me for being such an amazing wife." I almost laughed in his face. The conversation continued, but I'd heard enough. I quietly walked back into the garage, closed the door, and sat down on my workbench. My mind was racing, but one thought cut through everything else with perfect clarity. She thought she controlled me. She was wrong. I wasn't angry, not yet. Anger would come later, maybe. Right now, I felt something else entirely. Determination. She'd spent years believing she had power over me, using intimacy as a weapon, treating me like a trained animal. And she was so confident about it that she openly bragged to her friends. Fine. If that's the game she wanted to play, I could play too. But she was about to learn a very important lesson. You can't control someone who stops caring about what you're offering. I pulled out my phone and opened a new note. I needed to think this through carefully. No confrontation. No drama. No giving her the satisfaction of seeing me react. Instead, I was going to do something much simpler, much more effective. I was going to take away her supposed control. Completely. And then I was going to watch her slowly realize that she never had any power to begin with. The plan was straightforward. From this moment forward, I would be polite, cordial, and completely uninterested. When she tried her usual tactics, I'd have a headache. I'd be tired. I'd have an early morning. I'd be respectful, but distant. And when she finally asked what was wrong, when the panic set in, when she realized her manipulation had stopped working, that's when I'd let her know exactly what I'd heard. I stood up, dusted off my jeans, and walked back into the house. She was still on the phone, still laughing. She didn't even notice me walk past the kitchen. Perfect. Let her enjoy her little victory lap while it lasted. Because starting tonight, everything was about to change, and she had no idea it was coming. That evening, she was in an unusually good mood. She'd made dinner, her specialty pasta dish, and even lit candles on the table. I recognized the pattern immediately. This was one of her reward nights. I sat down, complimented the food, and we made small talk about our days. She was animated, touchy, laughing at things that weren't particularly funny. Every signal was there. She was setting the stage. After dinner, I stood up and started clearing plates. "Leave those," she said, walking up behind me and putting her hands on my shoulders. "I'll get them later. Why don't we just relax for a bit?" Her voice had that tone, the one she described to her friends, the one she used when she wanted something. "I appreciate it," I said, gently stepping away to rinse a dish. "But I've got a presentation tomorrow morning at work. Need to review some numbers before bed. Long day ahead." I saw her smile falter for just a second. "Oh, well, maybe after you're done reviewing. Probably going to crash pretty hard once I'm finished. You know how it is." I kissed her forehead, quick, platonic, and headed to the spare room where I kept my laptop. The presentation excuse was genuine, but I would have found another reason if it wasn't. She stood in the kitchen, visibly confused. The next 3 days followed a similar pattern. She tried different approaches. wearing outfits she knew I used to like, being extra affectionate during the day, even suggesting we take a weekend trip together. Each time, I had a perfectly reasonable excuse. Headache, exhausted from the gym, stomach wasn't feeling great, early meeting, never rude, never angry, just unavailable. By day 5, her confusion had turned into irritation. She stopped being subtle. "Are you okay?" she asked one evening, her arms crossed. "You've been really distant lately." "Distant? I don't think so. We had dinner together last night. Watch that show you like." "I'm right here. You know what I mean." "I'm not sure I do. I've been tired from work, that's all. Nothing personal." She studied my face, trying to find something. Anger, maybe. Guilt. Anything she could use. But I kept my expression neutral, almost bored. "Fine," she said, turning away. "Whatever." Week 2 was when things got interesting. She tried being sweet again, brought me coffee in bed, offered to give me a massage, suggested we have a date night at home. I accepted the coffee, politely declined the massage because my back was fine, and agreed to the date night, but fell asleep on the couch 20 minutes into the movie. She woke me up, frustrated. "Seriously? You can't even stay awake." "Sorry, been pulling extra hours this week." "You understand." The thing about her manipulation was that it only worked if I cared about what she was offering. And I didn't anymore. Not because I'd stopped being attracted to her. That wasn't the point. I'd stopped caring because I'd seen who she truly was. The mask had slipped, and I couldn't unsee it. By day 12, she'd cycled through confusion, irritation, and now something closer to panic. She tried confronting me again. "What is going on with you? And don't say work. This isn't about work." I looked up from my phone. "I'm not sure what you want me to say. Nothing's going on. You're acting different. Like you don't even want to be around me." "That's not accurate. I'm here every night. We eat together. We talk. I'm not going anywhere." "But you're not." She paused, searching for words that wouldn't reveal too much. "You're not being yourself." "Maybe this is myself," I said calmly. "Maybe I'm just not performing the way you expected." Her eyes narrowed. She knew something was off, but she couldn't figure out what. And that was driving her insane. Good. Let her sit with the uncertainty. Let her feel what it's like when someone stops playing by her rules. That night, after she'd gone to bed frustrated and confused, I sat in the living room with a beer. Not celebrating, just thinking. She'd built her entire power structure on one assumption, that I needed her approval, her affection, her attention. She was about to learn how quickly that structure could collapse when the foundation was removed. And I wasn't even close to being done yet. Week 3 started with her trying a new strategy, guilt. "I feel like we're roommates, not a married couple," she said over breakfast. "When did we stop connecting?" I buttered my toast. "We connect every day. We're talking right now." "That's not what I mean, and you know it." "Then help me understand what you mean." She set her coffee down harder than necessary. "I mean, we haven't been intimate in almost 3 weeks. That's not normal. People go through phases. It happens." Phases. Her voice was rising. "We're in our 30s, not our 70s. This isn't a phase. This is you deliberately avoiding me." I looked at her directly. "If that's how you feel, maybe we should talk about why you think I do that." She opened her mouth, then closed it. She couldn't accuse me of anything specific without revealing what she actually wanted. And she definitely couldn't mention the control she thought she had without admitting she'd been manipulating me all along. "Forget it," she muttered, grabbing her purse. "I'm meeting Maureen for lunch." "Good. Go complain to your friends. See if they have any bright ideas." That weekend, we were invited to dinner at her colleague's house. I almost declined, but then I realized this would be the perfect test. In public, with witnesses, she'd try to force my hand. I was right. She spent the entire evening being overly affectionate, touching my arm, laughing at my jokes, playing the role of devoted wife. During dessert, she made a pointed comment about how we need to get home soon, with a suggestive look that made everyone at the table chuckle knowingly. In the car, she was practically glowing. "That was nice, wasn't it? Reminded me of when we first got married." "It was fine." "Fine." She turned to look at me. "Come on, you had a good time." I could tell. "Sure. Bradley tells good stories. His wife's a decent cook." Silence. She was expecting me to take the bait, to acknowledge her performance, to fall back into the old pattern. When we got home, she went straight to the bedroom. I went to the garage. 20 minutes later, she found me there, and she was done playing nice. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I looked up from the workbench. "Excuse me." You heard me. What is your problem? I have been trying, really trying, and you act like I don't even exist. I think you exist. I see you every day. Stop being deliberately obtuse. She was shaking now, anger and frustration mixing with something else. Fear, maybe. Why are you doing this? Did I do something? Did someone say something to you? I set down the screwdriver I was holding and faced her fully. You really want to know? Yes. Obviously. I'm just not interested anymore. That's it. Nothing complicated. Her face went pale. Not interested? In me? In playing games? In jumping through hoops? In being managed like a project? Pick whichever one fits. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? Think about it. Really think about what our marriage has been for the past few years. She stared at me, her mind clearly racing. We've been fine. We've been happy. You've been happy. I've been performing. Performing? What does that even mean? I walked past her toward the house. It means I'm tired of being treated like a trained dog who gets treats for good behavior. She followed me, her voice getting louder. That's insane. I've never treated you like that. I stopped at the door and turned around. Haven't you? Think very carefully before you answer. For a moment, genuine panic flashed across her face. She was trying to figure out what I knew, how much I'd figured out. But she couldn't ask directly without admitting everything. I don't understand what's happening, she said, her voice smaller now. We need to talk about this. Actually talk. We are talking. You're just not getting the answers you want. This isn't fair. You're shutting me out and won't even tell me why. Fair. I almost laughed. You want to talk about fair? Okay, let's schedule a time when you're ready to be honest. Actually honest. About everything. Until then, I'm going to keep living my life exactly as I have been. I walked inside, leaving her standing in the garage, looking lost. For the first time in our marriage, she had absolutely no idea how to get what she wanted from me, and that terrified her. She didn't sleep that night. I could hear her tossing and turning in the bedroom while I stayed in the spare room, claiming I didn't want to disturb her since I had early meetings all week. The next evening, she was waiting for me when I got home from work. She'd clearly been planning this conversation all day. We need to talk. Now. No excuses, no distractions. I set my keys down. All right. We sat in the living room. She was perched on the edge of the couch, hands clasped tightly together. I took the chair across from her, deliberately putting distance between us. I've been thinking about what you said last night, she started. About being treated like a trained dog. I need you to explain what you meant because I genuinely don't understand. You don't. No, I don't. We're married. We make decisions together. We support each other. I don't see how that's treating you badly. I leaned back. Okay, let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something nice for me without expecting anything in return? She blinked. I do things for you all the time. That's not what I asked. When did you do something without calculating what you'd get back? I don't calculate. Stop. My voice was calm but firm. Before you keep lying, I want you to think very carefully about whether that's the path you want to take. Her face changed. The defensive anger faded, replaced by something closer to dread. What are you talking about? 3 weeks ago, Saturday afternoon, you were on the phone in the kitchen. I was in the garage. The color drained from her face. She knew exactly which conversation I meant. I heard everything. I continued. How you control me with one simple thing. How you train me like a puppy. How you withhold affection when I don't do what you want and reward me when I do. How you laughed about it with your friends. How you called me clueless. She was shaking her head, but no words came out. You want to know why I've been distant? That's why. You want to know why your little manipulation tactics stopped working? Because I stopped playing your game. You thought you had power over me. You were wrong. That wasn't, she stammered. You don't understand the context. We were just talking, venting. It wasn't serious. Wasn't serious? You described in detail how you manipulate me. You bragged about it. Your friends were impressed by your strategy. It was just girl talk. Everyone complains about their husbands. I stood up. There's a difference between complaining and describing a systematic manipulation scheme. You don't get to walk that back by calling it girl talk. She jumped up too, panic fully setting in now. Okay. Yes, maybe I said some things I shouldn't have. Maybe I got carried away. But you're blowing this out of proportion. Every couple has dynamics, things they do to control each other. Is that what you were going to say? To influence each other, to keep things balanced, by weaponizing intimacy, by treating your husband like a performing seal. Tears were forming in her eyes now. Please, you're making it sound so much worse than it was. I love you. I would never actually try to hurt you. But you did hurt me. You just didn't care because you thought I'd never find out. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Don't, I said quietly. Don't try to use tactics on me right now. I'm not falling for it anymore. Tactics? I'm trying to save our marriage. No, you're trying to save your control. There's a difference. I walked toward the stairs. And for the record, you never had control. You had compliance. And you just lost that too. Wait, please, we can fix this. I'll change. I promise I'll change. I stopped and turned to look at her. She was crying now, mascara running down her face. A few weeks ago, this scene would have broken me. I would have comforted her, reassured her, fallen back into the pattern. Not anymore. The problem isn't what you're willing to do now, I said. The problem is who you actually are. And I don't want to spend my life with someone who thinks manipulation is a game. I went upstairs, leaving her sobbing in the living room. The next morning, I had a consultation scheduled with a lawyer. She didn't know that yet, but she would soon enough. The lawyer's office was in a converted historic building downtown. Mr. Goodwin had come recommended by a colleague at work who'd gone through his own divorce 2 years ago. He was in his 50s, sharp-eyed, and didn't waste time with pleasantries. Tell me about your situation, he said, pen ready. I explained everything. The overheard conversation, the manipulation tactics, my decision to end the marriage. He took notes, asked clarifying questions about assets, debts, how long we'd been married. The house, he asked. Mine. I bought it 2 years before we got married. She's not on the deed. He nodded, making a note. That simplifies things. Joint accounts. One checking account for household expenses. Everything else is separate. I kept my savings account from before the marriage, never merged it. Smart. Any children? No. Also simplifies things. He set his pen down. Here's what I'm seeing. Clean break, minimal complications. You'll need to document everything. Financial records, proof of separate property, timeline of events. Virginia is a no-fault state, but having your documentation organized makes the process smoother. We spent the next 40 minutes going through details. Filing procedures, timelines, what to expect. When I left his office, I had a folder full of documents and a clear path forward. At home, she was waiting again. She'd clearly been crying on and off all day. Where were you? She asked, voice hoarse. Out. Out where? Running errands. She stared at me, searching my face. You're planning something. I can tell. I didn't respond. Just headed to the kitchen to make coffee. She followed. We need to talk about what happens next. We can't just keep living like this. You're right. We can't. Hope flickered in her eyes. So you're willing to work on things? We could try counseling or... That's not what I meant. The hope died immediately. Then what did you mean? I turned to face her. I meant this situation isn't sustainable. One way or another, it needs to end. End. Her voice cracked. You're talking about divorce? I'm talking about reality. You manipulated me for years. I found out. Trust is gone. What exactly do you think we're going to work on? How do you rebuild from that? People rebuild from worse things. Affairs, addiction, all kinds of. Those are things that happen to a marriage. What you did was the marriage. The whole foundation was built on you controlling me. Take that away, and what's left? She grabbed the counter for support. That's not fair. We had good times too. We laughed together. We traveled. We built a life. Did we? Or did I perform on cue while you pulled the strings? Stop saying that. She was getting angry now, defensive. I'm not some villain in a movie. I'm your wife. I made mistakes, yes, but that doesn't erase 7 years. You're right. It doesn't erase them. It reframes them. Every memory I have is now filtered through the knowledge that you were playing me the entire time. She slumped into a chair, head in her hands. What do you want from me? You want me to grovel? To beg? I've apologized. I've admitted I was wrong. What more can I do? Nothing. That's the point. There's nothing you can do because the problem isn't your actions now. It's your character. You're the kind of person who thought this was acceptable. And I don't believe people change their fundamental nature. That's not true. People change all the time. They change behaviors. They don't change who they are at their core. I poured my coffee. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. That's not. She started, but stopped. Because we both knew I was right. The next few days were tense. She tried different approaches. Anger, bargaining, more tears. She called her sister, who tried to mediate over the phone. I politely declined to participate. She suggested we talk to our pastor. I reminded her we'd only gone to church on Easter for the past 3 years. Then she tried to bring her mother into it. Mom wants to come visit this weekend, she announced. She thinks we need family support right now. Tell her not to come. She's worried about us. About me. I'm sure she is. But I'm not interested in being ambushed by your family. This is between you and me. So what? I'm just supposed to tell her everything's fine when it's clearly not? Tell her whatever you want. Just don't bring her here expecting me to sit through an intervention. She stared at me. You've become someone I don't even recognize. Funny, I was thinking the same thing about you 3 weeks ago. That Saturday, I moved the last of my important documents to my truck. Financial records, the house deed, passport, everything. She watched from the window but didn't come outside. I wasn't leaving yet, but I was preparing, and we both knew it. The divorce papers were served on a Wednesday morning. I'd arranged for a process server to deliver them while I was at work, sparing us both the awkwardness of me handing them over personally. She called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. She texted, demanding I come home immediately. I responded with one message. Everything you need to know is in the documents. Read them carefully. When I finally got home that evening, she was sitting at the kitchen table, papers spread out in front of her, eyes red and swollen. You already filed, she said, her voice flat. While we were still talking, you'd already decided. I decided 3 weeks ago. The talking was just you trying to change my mind. So all of this, the distance, the rejection, the coldness, you were just running out the clock while you planned this? I was protecting myself while figuring out the next step. There's a difference. She laughed bitterly. Protecting yourself? From me? I'm your wife. You were someone who treated marriage like a chess game. I needed to make sure I wasn't making decisions based on manipulation or guilt. She picked up one of the pages. It says here the house is your separate property, that I have no claim to it. That's correct. I bought it before we were married. You never contributed to the mortgage or property taxes. Legally, it's mine. So you're keeping the house, and I get what exactly? You get half of the joint checking account, which has about $4,000 in it. Your car is in your name, paid off. Your personal belongings, obviously. Beyond that, there's not much to divide. She stared at the papers, the reality sinking in. You planned this. You kept everything separate on purpose. I kept things separate because that's how they were when we got married. I never saw a reason to change it. I sat down across from her. And honestly, right now I'm grateful I didn't. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem to solve. You have family, friends, a job. You'll figure it out. You're really going to throw me out of my home? It was never your home. It was my house that you lived in. She crumpled the papers in her fist. How can you be so cold about this? 7 years together, and you just don't care at all. I cared 3 weeks ago. I cared when I thought we were partners. I stopped caring when I realized I was just a project you were managing. I told you I was sorry. How many times do I have to apologize? It's not about apologies. It's about who you are. You didn't accidentally manipulate me. You deliberately, systematically used intimacy as a weapon for years. You bragged about it to your friends. That's not a mistake. That's your character. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, quietly, desperately. What if I could prove I've changed? What if I showed you I'm different now? You can't prove that. And even if you could, I don't want to spend the next decade waiting to see if you'll revert to type the moment you think you have leverage again. So that's it. You've made up your mind and nothing I say or do matters. That's it. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and headed for the door. I'm staying at Holly's tonight. I can't be here right now. Take whatever time you need. But you have 30 days to move your things out. After that, I'm changing the locks. She stopped at the door, turned back. You know what the worst part is? You were right. I did think I controlled you. And I liked it. I liked feeling like I had that power. Her voice cracked. But I would have given it all up if I'd known this is where it would lead. No, you wouldn't have. You would have just gotten better at hiding it. She left without another word. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. She'd moved out within 2 weeks, staying with Holly until she found a small place across town. The process was surprisingly smooth. She didn't contest anything, didn't fight for assets she had no claim to. I heard through mutual acquaintances that her friends had distanced themselves after learning what had happened. Apparently, The same women who'd laughed with her about controlling me weren't so supportive when faced with the consequences of that behavior. As for me, I stayed in my house, the house that had always been mine. I reconnected with old friends I'd neglected during the marriage. Started going to the gym regularly, not as punishment or transformation, but because I actually enjoyed it. Took up woodworking in the garage where I'd first overheard that conversation. People asked if I was angry. I wasn't. Anger would have meant I still cared enough to be affected by what she'd done. Instead, I felt relief. Relief at being free from manipulation. Relief at not having to perform or calculate or wonder what game was being played. She'd spent years thinking she controlled me with one simple thing. In the end, she learned that control is an illusion. The moment someone stops caring about what you're offering, all your power evaporates. And I'd never felt more in control of my own life than I did the day I walked away from hers.